Hello, sixth graders, and welcome to 6.5 Extension. This is the last section in Chapter 6 in which we've been talking about integers and the coordinate plane. And for Section 5 Extension, we're going to be talking about reflecting points in the coordinate plane. And that's kind of why I have this picture up here. Is you can see it's a lake with this beautiful scenery behind it. And the lake is actually down here, and it's reflecting what you're seeing past the lake here. This would be an example of a reflection on the x-axis. You can see here what is above is being reflected below, and if you were to draw a plane through that, this would be the x-axis. That would be an example of a reflection on the x-axis. So kind of taking a real life picture there and showing you what that would look like. Thankfully, we don't have to draw that elaborate of a reflection. We just have to draw a few dots. So that's what we'll be working on in this extension section. For your learning target, it's I can explain how to reflect a point in the coordinate plane. And right here in the key idea, it looks a little wordy, but this is if you don't take anything else away from today's lesson, man, this is the most important one. This tells you exactly how to do it. To reflect a point in the x-axis, use the same x coordinate, so that doesn't change, and take the opposite of the y coordinate. And vice versa, if you reflect a point in the y-axis, you use the same y coordinate, but you take the opposite x coordinate. All right, let's try and see if we can do that. For the first one, it says reflect -2, 4 in the x-axis. Okay, the first thing I'll do then is I'll plot -2, 4. So here's 0, 0. -2 is left 2, and +4 is up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That point right there is -2, 4. And it wants me to reflect that in the x-axis. Okay, well, the x-axis is right here. So that's going to be kind of similar to the picture above, where I'm going to be reflecting it down. Also, take a look here. To reflect a point in the x-axis, like it wants me to do, use the same x-coordinate. Okay, so the x-coordinate, I'll keep the same. The first coordinate is -2. And take the opposite y-coordinate. Well, since the y-coordinate was 4, the opposite of that would be -4 for the reflection. Okay, and I'll graph that. So left 2, down 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there is the reflection of my original coordinate. The next one in letter B now wants us to reflect on the y-axis. So I'll plot my first point, -3, starting at 0, left 3, -1, down 1. Okay, there's my point right there, -3, -1. And I need to reflect that in the y-axis. All right, when I reflect in the y, I use the same y coordinate. Okay, so my y coordinate was -1. I use the same y and take the opposite of the x. So the opposite of -3 would be +3. All right, so graphing 3, -1, I'd go right 3 and down 1 right there. There is the reflection if I were to reflect it across the y-axis. Okay, let's try the next example where it says reflecting a point in both axes. So it says reflect 2, 1 in the x-axis followed by the y-axis. I'm going to do a couple different colors for this. I'll start with green for my original. So 2, 1 over 2 up 1 is the original. And first they want me to reflect that in the x-axis. Okay, remember when I reflect in the x, I keep the same x coordinate, so 2, and I take the opposite y, so -1. So starting at 0, right 2, down 1. That would be the reflection in the x-axis. And then pay close attention to the wording followed by the y-axis. So I go from this latest point to following that with a reflection in the y. Well, remember when I reflect in the y, I keep the y the same. So I'm going to keep -1 the same. And I'm going to change my x to its opposite. So the opposite of +2 would be -2. All right, so -2, -1 would be right there. Okay, so 2, 1 reflected in the x followed by the y-axis. The ending point would be -2, -1. Okay, reflecting over the x and then the y. All right, so just make sure you're paying attention to the wording. For these, it says followed by. That first point is important. All right, that is short and sweet. That's actually all I have for the extension section. There's just 2 examples that we needed to do. For your practice, it's on page 283. Practice some of those odds. Make sure you're reflecting correctly, and let me know if you have any more questions, and I'll be happy to help. This does it for chapter 6. Well done, everyone. I will see you next time when we start chapter 7.